Hi everyone, Anthony Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review. Vessel, Order of Noise. Vessel is the pseudonym of a UK electronic music producer. He is on the ever-growing Triangle Records, which is pretty much a safe haven for producers that really prefer vast and open atmospheres in their music. And on his debut full-length album, Mr. Sebastian Gainsborough, aka Vessel, finds himself really kind of in league with this label's sensibilities, but still managing to kind of hammer out a niche of his own, bringing together elements of ambient music as well as IDM, minimal techno, and dub. And let me tell you, this album is dark. Not dark in a sort of dreary, sad kind of way. I mean dark like being thrown into a room where it's just so black in there you can't even see your hand in front of your face. Maybe in this very black, dark room your eyes can adjust a little bit after repeated listens and you can sort of make out shadows of some of the sounds on this record, but still for the most part this album is like visual deprivation, but kind of for your ears. No matter what style of electronic music Vessel seems to be kind of chasing after on a given track with this LP, the sounds are consistently murky and spacious, chock full of just textures riding sequenced beats. Some of these tracks are just really wide, really open, difficult to kind of wrap your head around. One of my favorites on this LP is like that Stillborn dub. The pattern on that track just has so many gaps in it, it's kind of difficult to tell whether or not there's even really a pattern there at first. And there are some tracks on here that are filled with sound, not so spacious, kind of just throw a lot at me, such as the track Images of Bodies, which isn't one of my favorite songs on this LP. There are busier songs on this album that go over well, but this particular track, the grooves and the sounds kind of swirling around it seem a bit out of sync. Either that or just the sounds kind of laid on top of the groove feel trivial, like they're not really adding that much to the progression of the track. There is actually an album that this LP reminds me of, in a sense, that Carter Tutti Void album, Transverse, that came out earlier this year. And while that in a way is much more of an industrial outing, this album kind of builds its tracks the same way. It finds a groove, it finds a beat, and then just surrounds it with weird out there sounds. Although I wouldn't say the sounds that Vessel kind of puts on top of these tracks are the weirdest. I love that Vessel creates just these throes of nothingness and just barrenness, and then finds way to kind of inject some beauty into that. It's sort of romantic in a way, but still, this is a very cold-blooded album. Even the tracks that have some pretty punchy beats come off as rather stony. But still, it is those moments where Vessel kind of puts a glimmer of light into the abyss that makes these songs kind of darkened ear candy. Like the bouncing synth notes on the track LACHE, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. LACHE, or the muddy, strange bass line that comes out of nowhere on the track Two Moon dub. However, I don't feel like that magic translates with every track. Like with those songs I mentioned earlier, there are moments where I do feel like the noises that Vessel surrounds these tracks with come off as, rather random and don't really add much to the narrative of the track. And there are songs on here like Two Moon dub that I feel like could have been so much bigger, so much more well developed. A lot like the song Court of Lions, which to me, it's a song that comes in toward the end of this LP, one of the most developed songs on this entire album, really multi-phase. The track kicks off with these metallic feeling rhythms with polyrhythms riding them in this bass line that's it's like a 30-second note bass line. Eventually everything kind of peters out into the nothingness. It kind of disappears. It's like swimming and hanging around you, and then it just kind of flies away into the nothingness, and then all of a sudden this new bass line introduces itself, and all these heavenly synths of various shapes and sizes just come enveloping the rhythm, and it's quite beautiful. And then again, there are songs on here like Plain Curves that, to me, what you hear toward the end of the song isn't really all that much different than what you hear at the beginning of the song. And while the beat and the textures are cool, I wish there was a little bit more development there. Still, a majority of the tracks on here are pretty enjoyable if you are into music that does kind of enjoy a little bit of nihilism to it, possibly. A little bit of freezing cold darkness. And despite the fact that there are a few potholes here and there, all of these songs do fit into a well-groomed and conceived style that is also well-produced and just filled with some really interesting sounds. Feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this. What did you think of it if you've given it a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What should I review next? And that's it. Thanks for watching. Vessel, Order of Noise, forever.